Jason Ross, Jay Mars here, Carmichael Dave on load management. He is out today, but the voice of the 49ers, Greg Papa, is with us each and every week. Greg, how are you?
He's going Kawhi Leonard on us, and I don't think he ever had any tendinopathy.
No.
So I don't know what's in there. But
I don't know. The station has said he's been compliant, but I'm not sure. I'm not buying this load management with him.
He works hard. He needs time off.
There he is. Well, the Niners have been working hard, and they've been doing this in different ways, Greg. I was just saying that obviously the main foundation has been this killer defense, this strong run game. Last Thursday, the game you called in Arizona, a little bit different. The defense got hit a little bit, and then Jimmy Garoppolo, though, hit back with his best game as a quarterback for the Niners. So what are you seeing now is just even maybe another weapon that the Niners may have in a passing game now?
Well, I think people forget who Jimmy Garoppolo is. It's befuddling to me how they criticize his play when he's quarterbacked the 49ers for 16 games, which is a full regular season. It's been over 3 years, obviously. But he's 14-2. He went 5-0 when he arrived here in 2017. Hardly knew the playbook, and he picked the whole team up on his back, and he just made so many big plays. The Jacksonville game, the Houston game, the Tennessee game. I could go on a Chicago game. He played great. And then early in the 18 year, that was a hard schedule to open against Minnesota, to open at Arrowhead. And he got hurt, late in the game in Kansas City. The only two games he's lost were at Minnesota and at Kansas City. And those are really hard venues to play. And then, this year starts, he doesn't lose a game. It wasn't always perfect. He threw some interceptions, but they almost all do. I mean, Russell Wilson's not throwing them right now, but there's a reason for that. I think Jimmy is one of the top quarterbacks in football. I've said it all along. I can't believe people are surprised when he plays the way he plays. When I judge a quarterback, it's mainly on third down. There are a lot of things you judge him on. I think Jimmy's ball handling is as good as Chad Pennington, Steve DeBerg, some of these guys who aren't great throwers of the ball, historians will say, but they were great play-action fakers. Pennington had a terrible throwing arm, very weak, but he overcame it by executing the play-action fake. Jimmy's on that kind of level. And then you throw in his footwork. This is a complicated system with the boots and the waggles and the keeps. And he's got jet sweepers going this way and backs going that way, and he's pulling it and rolling it and throwing it back way. And that's hard. And then on top of all that, he executed. And I think this was the best game I've seen from him this year, throwing the football, which everybody so obviously can see. And that's how they almost singularly judge a quarterback, which is unfortunate, but it's realistic. And he threw the ball so well in this game. There were a couple of throws that he made where I've been calling games so long, and I think it's the same for guys playing defense. You just don't think he's throwing the ball to that spot, and he's throwing the ball away. There was one where he lofted the ball to Deebo Samuel, and Deebo wound up dropping it. And I think he was surprised that the ball was coming to him. And I thought Jimmy was rolling. It's under pressure. He was going to Emmanuel Sanders in the right flat initially. That was taken away. And then he came back, and he tried to loft one over the top to Deebo, and Deebo, I think, was fooled by the flight. I was fooled by the flight of it, and Deebo dropped it. And then the one to Dante Pettis, the corner route for the touchdown, again, he was going somewhere else. It was a 3-layer route. They took the flat away. They took the second level away, and he went to the third level, which is hard. And to throw a corner route, and he dropped it right over the top. I think the one thing that we'll see from Russell Wilson has the ability to loft balls and drop them over the top to overcome his lack of size, where he doesn't want to drive the ball where it gets batted down, and he just drops it right in the bucket so beautifully. And Jimmy Garoppolo, this game on Thursday in Arizona last week, did the same thing. But I'm not surprised. I've known all along he's very capable of doing what he's doing. He just, because statistically it was the best game with 4 touchdown passes.
Greg Papa, play-by-play boys for the 49ers, joining us this morning. Greg, obviously losing Quan Alexander against the Cardinals. We saw how that changed the Niners' defense in that game. Going forward, just how big is that loss going to be, not just this Sunday, but for the rest of the season in general for San Francisco?
I think it's huge. We were playing a game on my radio show the day. John Lund asked me if, one injury proceeding forward, what would be the hardest? Well, you lost McGlinchey, Staley, Juszczyk, and you kept going offensively. And the bottom line is they didn't run the ball as well without the right tackle, the left tackle, and the fullback. Statistically, there were some hard games in there. I mean, when Joe Staley went out in Cincinnati, they were trucking them. And the Monday night game, when you lost the right tackle, McGlinchey, and the fullback, Juszczyk, they were putting up a big number on Baker, and it kind of went backwards a little bit there. But they overcame that. They overcame the injury to Jimmy Ward. They overcame the injury to Akella Witherspoon, and Mosley played so well. But Quan is just, I'm not going to say they can't replace him, but I do want to see how they are, because he's just a run-and-hit linebacker. He was a Mike linebacker for 4 years in Tampa. He got hurt. And here next to Fred, he's so perfect behind that gold rush we talk about, the pass rush up front. And the way they don't block him a lot. He's able to run around and make plays. And he's just instinctive and fast, and he fires, and he defends the run well, but he's active in the run game. He's played great. After Nick Bosa, I may nominate him as the second best 49er defender this year. Armstead's been good, other guys have been good, but I think Quan's been that good. And now what do you do? Dre Greenlaw will move up, and he'll move from Sam to Will. And then I don't know what they're going to do in the base. Nazacha, I think, could do it. Al-Shair could do it. They brought Elijah Lee up from the practice squad. He's played a lot. I think they could also move the safety, Jaquaski Tart, into the box a little bit and play him in there, but maybe not against Seattle because of the way they run. It's a big loss. There's no doubt. They've overcome injuries on both sides of the ball to prominent positions, as I detailed, but I'm going to be very intrigued to see how they overcome the loss of Quan Alexander.
Those other guys you did mention on the positive side, what is the status for Juszczyk, McGlinchey, Staley, Witherspoon? Sounds like some of those guys, will they be back for Monday?
Mike's the only one that we're not sure about. I think Joe could have played in Arizona. I think he's saying now that he never really targeted that game, but I think they were hopeful he would come back and play. But I think the reality was that's Thursday Night Football. The whole world's watching. He's got, Chandler Jones on one side, Terrell Suggs on the other. He didn't have a full practice, so he didn't go in that game, but I'm expecting Staley to be a full go. McGlinchey, I don't know about. I think if Joe does go and Mike cannot go, then they'll just leave Daniel Brunskill at right tackle, and Justin School will be your swing guy. They're not going to School to right tackle. As far as Juszczyk, I watched him warm up for a good 20, 30 minutes before the game in Arizona. Played that night. I mean, he was flying all over the place. In fact, if that game would have been on Sunday and not a Thursday, a short week, he probably would have gone. So I'm expecting Juszczyk and Staley for sure to play. And then over on defense, I don't know about Witherspoon. I thought he was targeting to come back. He had a setback a few weeks ago. And I think that's somewhat of I'm not going to say a huge problem because Mosley's played well, but they've got big wide receivers. Tyler Lockett in the slot is undersized, and K'Wan Williams is going to have a tough assignment because that guy moves all night and constantly motioning. But they've got DK Metcalf, the rookie, who's just huge. I'm expecting them to have Josh Gordon for this game. And you'd like to have Witherspoon size with Matt Gordon. But Emmanuel Mosley, if he has to, he's obviously played very well. He got beat over the top. Isabella had a touchdown last week. But for a guy who's smaller, Witherspoon's much taller and longer.
Uh-oh.
Did we lose Greg?
I think we lost Greg.
Greg, you there? Let me get him back on the line.
I think we may have lost Greg for a moment. We'll see if we can get him back for a few more moments here because Greg was getting into some good stuff there about the matchup this Monday with Seattle. And you just think about the impact of the division, too, because certainly after Monday, there's 7 games to go. But if the Niners can win that game, that would put a third loss on Seattle. You would guarantee they can't get you in the tiebreaker. At least you could split that, and you already have the Rams at 3 losses. So let's connect back with Greg. Sorry, Greg, we lost you there for a second.
I'm sorry. I don't even know how much of my babbling you were hearing there about the Witherspoon and Mosley. They got big receivers, Metcalf and Gordon, Lockett in the slot. So you'd like to have Witherspoon size, but if he can't go in this game, I think Mosley is there. I did hear what you say about the importance of the game. So, the slogan and the kind of the mantra, I'm not going to say around the building so much, but just in the media, is the quest for 6 to get that 6th Lombardi trophy. But I think this week is the quest for the West. You just did the math. If they win this game and Seattle has 3 losses and the 49ers have none and you beat them, you put yourself in a great position to win your own division. But if it goes the other way, and they pull within, one loss, and they beat you, and they've got you the last game of the year up there where it's tough to play in Loud at CenturyLink, then it's up for grabs. So this game, really, the first goal of every football team when they build a team in the offseason, when they go to training camp, every waking moment, the first goal in front of you, with the exception probably the Patriots because they win the AFC East every year, is to win your own division. So that's what this game Monday night is all about.
So, Greg, let's build on that real quick. In that sense, then, who is more pressure on Monday night? The Niners to kind of put more distance between themselves and the Seahawks, knowing that they have a very rough schedule coming up the last half of the season, or is it more pressure on the Seahawks to just kind of stay in contention?
I don't look at pressure in sports. I think they're all pressurized. I mean, if you don't go out there with the right mindset in football, you're going to get hurt. Somebody's going to hurt you. So you can't behave that way. This is a huge game for both sides. If you're asking which one is more desperate to get the game, I mean, pure math of it, if Seattle loses the game, then they're most likely, and there's a long way to go after this game. It's not like it's the final game of the year. But if they do lose this game, then they're looking at their entree to the postseason as a wild card. And just the nature of playoff positioning in the NFL, there is a huge advantage to winning your division as opposed to making you the wild card. I mean, it's just bottom line. If you win your division, no matter where you're seated, you're going to have a home game at least on wild card weekend. If you don't win it and you're a wild card team, you got to go play on the road. And you got to play wild card weekend. So to get to the Super Bowl, you've got to win 3 games. If you win your division and you're one of the top 2 seeds, you get a bye. And then if you win your division and you're the number 1 seed, what the 49ers could do, then you have home field advantage all the way to the Super Bowl. So the pure desperation part of it is Seattle needs to win this game. Otherwise, they're most likely looking at a wild card. If the 49ers lose the game, then it's up for grabs. They're still ahead of them. So, and a lot of times the more desperate team wins, but I think these teams, Seattle's had a lot of success with this quarterback since he's arrived. The 49ers have had 0 success with the guys on this roster. The only guy that's won here is Joe. Sherman won in Seattle. He hasn't won here. So if the 49ers aren't properly desperate, I don't know when they're ever going to be.
Is Kittle okay? I know he was banged up in that game on Thursday. Is he going to be okay for Monday night?
I don't know. I'm driving as we speak. That's why my phone's dropping on you. I'm sorry. I'm driving to Santa Clara to do the radio show from there for 4 hours, then watch practice and do some interviews after. So I'll give you a better idea after. I was surprised he played as long as he played on Halloween in Arizona. That's a bad injury. When Chandler Jones's helmet hits the front side of your knee and it hyperextends back, and I watched him almost the entire game, in and out of the lineup, deep knee bends on the sideline. I thought any minute he's going to leave the game and not come back. And I think the singular most inspirational play of the whole year was his touchdown on Budda Baker.
Yes.
It was just incredible the way that was a man matchup in the slot on 3rd down. Budda came to get him. Budda was playing his ass off. He was all over the field. And then George just stiff-armed him to get off the line. Got to the 2nd and 3rd level. Budda got up. He caught it. He stiff-armed him again. And then he just trucked everybody into the end zone. So the guy just doesn't miss games. He played last year with a bad injury, a rib cartilage fracture off the Thursday night game against the Raiders. He did that early in the game. And in fact, remember that incredible catch he had, the one-hand catch against the Raiders? He did that after he had the rib cartilage fracture. So he's tough. Will he, I think he'll play. Will he play effectively? I don't know. I don't know what he did to that knee, but a hyperextended knee when it bends backwards like that, that's not the way the knee is structurally built to bend. So he's a tough guy. So we just hope he's 100%.
Greg, this is the biggest game of the season so far for the Niners. From your perspective right now, who do you see coming away with the victory, the Niners or the Seahawks?
I just feel like the 49ers are going to win the game unless things go weird. And Russell, he'll slip out of the pocket and make some plays. Every game I go into it looking like, can the opponent's offensive line block the 49ers defensive line? And some weeks, every single game I say no. And some games I say, hell no. They got no chance. But I thought that against Arizona. And Arizona did some double teaming on DeForest Buckner, and they ran the ball against them. When I look at, this offensive line, Jermaine Ifedi is struggling at right tackle. D Ford should light him up. Mike Upati, the former 49er, who I loved when he was a 49er, is just not the same player anymore. Seeing a lot of matchups where the 49ers can dominate the game. I see that every week. But, like Arizona, you're getting some good coaching, and they can scheme it up. So, to answer your question, I feel good about this game. I think the 49ers will win this game. I think they're more difficult games to come. Like the New Orleans game, I think, is the toughest game on the schedule, and certainly Green Bay at home. So I think they'll win this game, but I think Russell Wilson will make some moments where you're like, oh, man, that little guy get away from that sack and make that play. So either way, it's going to be a hell of a lot of fun. Monday Night Football, 8-0 against 7-2. It's the quest for the West. I'm going to have a hell of a lot of fun no matter how it goes down. I know that.
We know that for sure. We look forward to it. It's going to be a great game, Greg. Have a great call. We will talk to you next week.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
The Drive.